Good morning. I would like to welcome you to the regular public meeting of the Henry County Board of Commissioners for 9 a.m. Tuesday, October 5th, 2010. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. At this time, before I ask for an acceptance of the agenda, I need to make a couple of amendments. If you're looking at your handout, the agenda not in your book, but the one that was handed out, under Public Safety, item number C, which is a resolution requesting authorizations to declare undercover vehicles as surplus property, that item is being removed from the agenda this morning. Also under Public Safety, items A and B, which are presented by Major Jason Bolton, are going to be moved up on the agenda as the first two items that we'll hear this morning before the proclamations, as he has some pressing business that he needs to attend to. With those changes made to the agenda, I would ask for an acceptance.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Stamey, second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. For those of you who are with us this morning, we do have quite a crowd here today. You have chosen probably the longest agenda that this commission has had in the last 5 years. Congratulations. But we're going to try to move through this as quickly as possible. We have a lot of good things going on this morning, so you also chose a good time to be here for that reason. Under Public Safety, the first item this morning is a resolution requesting authorization to accept a donation from Epic Bikes. Our presenter is Major Jason Bolton of the Police Department, Exhibit number 7. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. Recently, Tim Cole of Epic Bikes in Mcdonough recognized a need that our COPS unit has and offered to meet that need for us. Currently, our COPS unit has to utilize the department's mobile command unit to transport their bicycles to and from special assignments. And upon learning of this, Mr. Cole kindly offered to donate a Sirius bicycle rack to the unit, and that would be, of course, not only more practical than using the mobile command unit, but it would be more cost-effective in terms of fuel. This bicycle rack is valued at $192.60. And unlike previous bicycle racks that the unit has had in years past, this one will not be permanently affixed to the vehicle. So when the vehicle is phased out and sold at auction, the bicycle rack will be able to be removed and used on newer vehicles.
Does any board member have a question or comment? If not, you have a resolution in front of you accepting the donation of the bike rack, and I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Bowman, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is a resolution requesting authorization to accept the Governor's Office of Highway Safety grant for the HEAT program, and that's Exhibit number 8.
Yes, ma'am. The Police Department has participated in the HEAT program for many years. The unit has been very effective in enforcing speeding, aggressive driving, and DUIs over the years. In fact, in 2010, the HEAT unit was awarded Task Force of the Year by Mothers Against Drunk Driving in conjunction with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. This grant, which is offered by the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, offers to fund 40% of the salaries and benefits for one officer and one sergeant in that unit, as well as 40% of the cost of the entire unit's ALCA sensors, telecommunications, and the recalibration of their radars and lasers. Henry County, of course, will be responsible for the other 60% of those costs, but the grant this year is in the amount of $60,100 from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety.
Does any board member have a question or comment pertaining to this item? If not, you have before you a resolution accepting the grant. I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Bowman, second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, and congratulations on your recent promotion.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to back up here for just a moment. We have some guests that have joined us. This is an annual pilgrimage that they make to the Board of Commissioners, and that's the senior class of Bible Baptist Christian School in Hampton. And their teacher is Mr. Andy Henry, who is here with them. And I would like to recognize those students, and I believe that they had requested a picture with the Board of Commissioners. And so if you would come forward, we'd be glad to do that, and we want to welcome you here today. It's always good to encourage our youth to learn more about government and how government works. They're the future leaders of this community, and we're certainly pleased to have them here this morning. The next item on the agenda is going to be a proclamation, and this is in reference to Domestic Violence Awareness Day. And I'd like to read that, and we do have someone here from Haven House that is going to accept this and maybe tell us a little bit about an event that's happening in Henry County tomorrow. This is designating October 6, 2010 as Domestic Violence Awareness Day in Henry County. Whereas since the passage of the Violence Act against women 16 years ago, our nation has made great strides in breaking the silence surrounding domestic violence to reach thousands of survivors, prevent countless incidences of abuse, and save untold numbers of lives. And whereas domestic violence nevertheless remains a devastating public health crisis when statistics show that 1 in 4 women will be physically or sexually assaulted by a partner at some point in her lifetime. And whereas putting a stop to domestic violence requires a collaborative effort that involves every part of our society, from the criminal justice system that must work to hold offenders accountable and protect the victims and their children, to community leaders, healthcare workers, and human service professionals who must consistently communicate that domestic violence happens to women from all walks of life and that it is always unacceptable. And whereas, as a culture, we must endeavor to protect survivors, bring offenders to justice, and change attitudes that support such violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that October 6, 2010 is hereby designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Day in Henry County, during which citizens are encouraged to speak out against domestic violence and support local efforts to assist victims of these crimes in finding the help and healing they need. On this day and throughout the year, let each of us resolve to be vigilant in recognizing and combating domestic violence in our community and work to bring a culture of safety and support for all those affected. Be it further proclaimed that Domestic Violence Awareness Day ceremony on the square will serve to help our community to celebrate those who have survived, mourn for those who have died because of domestic violence, and connect with those who have dedicated their lives to end that violence. This 5th day of October 2010, the Henry County Board of Commissioners. And I believe Marjorie Lacey is here from Haven House. And Marjorie, would you like to come forward and maybe share a little bit about the event tomorrow? And then, of course, we want to present the proclamation and take another picture.
Tomorrow at noon, the community in Henry County will be meeting at the square in Mcdonough to remember all the people who have lost their lives to domestic violence this year. There will be shoes around the square representative of every victim that we have served, not just Haven House, but the police department and all the entities in Henry County that work together. And this is a collaborative effort of the police department, the solicitor's office. We are all working together to fix this problem and eliminate it in Henry County.
Who would you like to come and receive the proclamation with you? Board members. The next item on the agenda is in reference to the Water First Community designation, and we have a couple of people here that are going to be giving a presentation. Deetra Binion, who is the program coordinator, and Mike Gleaton, Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm honored to be here today. Excuse me. This is a very important program with the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. This is a program that's looking for communities that are proactive and looking to do environmental excellence, not just to meet those legal requirements. This program was launched in 2002. It was a voluntary program, a partnership between the local government, state agencies, and other organizations that want to work together to improve our quality of life through wise management and protection of water resources. This is not an easy program. As you'll find out, there are only 19 communities that have been designated out of the state of Georgia, and that's out of about 600. And I guess you want to know, what does it take to actually be designated as a Water First community? And it is a lot of work. There are 7 main requirements or criteria: watershed management, stormwater master planning, water supply planning and water supply protection, water conservation, wastewater treatment systems and management, water reclamation, and reuse. Now, we asked the communities about, or your experts on water management, and when I say water management, I always like to include, it's not just those that actually are out there, the operators and the water authority, but we were looking at also your planning department and your land use decisions, and we're asking about your best management practices, and we're looking for a community that takes that proactive approach to water resource management, that you make the connection between land use and water quality and quantity. We're looking at communities that realize that, political boundaries may be, but water is a shared resource and it doesn't seem to stay within your boundaries. We're looking for that holistic approach to a watershed management, and we are looking for that community that doesn't just meet the minimum standards that are put by law. We're looking for those, again, that are pursuing environmental excellence. And we asked these questions of Henry County and the authority. They gave us a presentation of everything to a group of reviewers, and I wanted to share some of the reviewers' comments. I wanted to highlight 4 things in particular of what they thought that stood out for this community. One being that you actually have an award-winning education program. You've received the Georgia Association for Water Professionals Education Award. The fact that y'all had the forward thinking of building 5 reservoirs with the land mass of 8,000 acres to ensure your water supply, and right about now, that's you're patting yourselves on the back for that one, and that you have an impressive watershed protection plan to ensure that you protect those reservoirs. And another thing that a lot of communities have not been able to achieve is that you actually have an impressive ordinance restricting private decentralized waste collection systems so they do not become a burden on your citizens. This is some of the things that were brought out in the review that they thought you, Henry County and the Water Authority, Water and Sewerage Authority, were definitely needed to be recognized, that they were dedicated and have put countless hours in achieving these great things. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mike Gleaton, who's Assistant Commissioner, to actually talk about the benefits of the program.
Thank you, Deetra. It's a pleasure to be here in Henry County today. In fact, this is one of the most fun things we get to do as a state bureaucrat. Come recognize a county, and in this case a county and its water and sewer authority, for excellence. I was in a meeting the other day and we were talking about leadership. And what do we want from our leaders? Well, the consensus of the group was we wanted them to lead. Pretty simple. In this case, the leadership of Henry County and the Henry County Water Authority is meeting or exceeding those expectations. As officials, we recognize that local elected officials are under a lot of pressure to make complex and difficult decisions. Similarly, your counterparts on the Water and Sewer Authority are also asked to make difficult and sometimes arduous decisions, but it's all focused, in this case, on the future of Henry County, its residents, and the quality of life of its citizens. Our assessment is Henry County's leaders lead by examples. You show your colleagues, your citizens, what needs to be done, you set the framework, and then you get about the business of doing it. Today, the Department of Community Affairs is proud to recognize Henry County and the Henry County Water and Sewer Authority as the 20th and newest member of the Water First community. This is DCA's most prestigious group of communities. It's the most difficult designation to attain that we have. Large and small governments have attained this designation. Tybee Island, the city of Tybee Island, is a Water First community. Cobb County, Gwinnett County, now Henry County. Other large communities are Water First communities. We have some benefits for achieving this award for the county and the city. The first of which are two signs, and Deetra will, I think, unveil. She's going to do her Vanna White imitation. Henry County and the County Water and Sewer Authority, y'all can put these up wherever you choose, and you can actually purchase more of these if you'd like to put up more than two in your community to let your citizens know, and tourists and everybody else know, you as a county and your authority are achieving excellence in water resource management. Now I would like to recognize some of the people involved in this endeavor for what they've committed. Of course, Chairman B.J. Mathis, Chairman of the County Commissioners, Mr. Ken Phillips. Where is he, Ken? He's with the Chair of the Water and Sewer Authority. Tony Cornell with the Authority as well. Gary Mayo with the Authority. And I believe Patrick Hembry is also here with the Authority. They're the hired hands, so to speak, that make all this tick. They help you get there, and we think y'all are doing an excellent job. And to get to right now to what's in it for the county and the authority, one thing that's very much of a benefit to y'all is if y'all approach the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority for loan funds for water or sewer, you're going to get a 1% interest reduction over what a normal community would get. That's in recognition of y'all's excellence in doing the right thing at the right time for the right people with your water resources. In addition, if y'all, the county or the authority, would like to apply for what is called a 319 Water Resource Management Grant from the Environmental Protection Division within the Department of Natural Resources, you will receive bonus points towards an award there. So that's a very tangible benefit. And we want to make sure that Henry County and its citizens know that you're living in a very special place, one that y'all are very good stewards of from a water resource standpoint. Hopefully the road signs will serve as a reminder to your citizens of y'all's good efforts and let everybody know what good leaders y'all are in the area of water resources. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank y'all for y'all's attention, and we would like to at this point recognize Chairman Mathis and let her make some remarks, I believe. Oh, Lenny Farmer. Back there with the authority as well. Thank y'all for bringing that to my attention. Chairman Mathis?
Well, we have a couple of things that we need to do. I have a proclamation that I would like to read. The county manager is going to come up because we do have a resolution that we need to approve, which is a Memorandum of Understanding. I believe that we're going to jointly sign the MOU and take some more pictures. This is picture-taking day, I think, and then we're going to all gather here for a joint picture with everyone that's here today representing the Water Authority and the Department of Community Affairs. So I'll read the proclamation first, and this is in recognition of the Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority for their achievement of the Water First designation. Whereas the Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority is charged with planning and constructing a water and sewage system capable of accommodating the ever-changing needs of local citizens and protecting the watersheds in order to ensure clean sources of water for Henry County residents and businesses. And whereas Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority staff has worked diligently for nearly 2 years to achieve the Water First Community designation from the State of Georgia Department of Community Affairs, which is given to communities that understand the connection between land use and water quality and quantity, and seek to enhance citizens' quality of life through the wise management and protection of water resources. And whereas the DCA's goal through the Water First designation are to provide assistance to local communities who strive to manage water resources responsibly and to acknowledge and reward communities that pursue environmental excellence beyond what is legally required. And whereas because of the conscientious and outstanding efforts of the Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority in striving for environmental excellence in all areas of water resource management, the Department has earned the prestigious Water First designation from the DCA, which makes the Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority eligible for certain financial benefits and resources. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Henry County Board of Commissioners wishes to honor the Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority for achieving this esteemed designation, which only 20 other communities in Georgia have managed to achieve, and expresses sincerest appreciation to its staff for their exceptional dedication, hard work, and commitment to Henry County and its citizens, and for being good stewards of the community's water resources this 5th day of October, 2010. And at this time, I'd like the county manager, if you would, there's a resolution that you need to present, which is exhibit number 6 in our book.
Madam Chair and Board, good morning. We do have a little item of business we need to complete to formalize our Water First relationship between our terrific Henry County Water and Sewerage Authority, DCA. And I'd also like to thank our Henry County Stormwater Department, represented today by Nick Griffiths and James Moore, who also assisted in the attainment of this terrific designation. The MOU basically, as I said, formalizes the Water First relationship. It is for a 5-year term. There are no fees associated, and it does include all of the benefits which Mike spoke about earlier. And I would ask for your approval of that document.
At this time, are there any questions or comments from board members? Mr. Holder?
This has something to do with the agreement, but before we left this entire issue, I wanted to make some comments, which I have many times before, but we're not afforded the presence of the Water Authority at all of our meetings. The Water Authority has done a tremendous job over the years in our community in addressing the growth that we have experienced since back in the 90s and late 80s. That is an area or a department, or not a department, excuse me, an authority or a division of Henry County that has met the challenge of growth about as well as anybody or any part of our county government. And I think it can't go without saying that this begins at the leadership. It took some visionaries with the Water Authority, many of which are sitting here today, and I know we've kind of touched on Lindy Farmer, and Lindy's the general manager of the Water Authority. But he has assembled a team over the years, along with a good board, that has had consistency, continuity, and that has obviously rendered success. And with all of the awards, this is just one award for some of the people who don't know. And this is quite an award. But our Water Authority has been an award-winning authority for several years, as most of us know. And many of these awards have been presented and have come before us. And I just don't think it can go without saying that we are proud of our Water Authority, along with our stormwater, along with our staff also, and I'm not taking anything away from them. But I know the Water Authority never gets the recognition and the acclaims that other people do, but they need it. They have done a good job. They have been consistent. They have been visionaries, and I think a lot of it starts with Lindy, with the board. Ken Phillips has been with the board so many years. Lindy's been there for so many years, and I think it speaks volumes of what the success is in these awards that are being presented today. Needs to go back to their direction, and I thought it needed to be said.
Well said, Mr. Holder. Anyone else? All right, if not, you have a resolution before you accepting the designation as a Water First community and approving the Memorandum of Understanding, and I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion by Mr. Basler, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. And I guess at this time, we need to officially sign the MOU, which is there, and then when we conclude that, if the board would come down, and Mr. Holder, if you would bring this with you, then we'll have a photograph with the Water Authority. right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, Life Management Solutions, a resolution requesting authorization to accept a grant from the Council of Juvenile Court Judges of Georgia for 2010-2011. Our presenter is Sandra Reagan, Director of Life Management Solutions. That's Exhibit number 10. Good morning.
Good morning. I am requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the grant award and a budget amendment for the maximum amount of $7,500 from the Council of Juvenile Court Judges. There is no match required. This grant money is used for psychological evaluations for juvenile offenders throughout the year.
Are there any questions or comments from board members?
Please, Madam Chair. Sandy, I know this says it's been for about 12 years, but as far as during your time, do you have any idea how many grants you have received for Henry County?
No. We've probably received close to $2 million over the past 12 years. But as far as the number of grants, I couldn't tell you. Usually 2 to 3 a year.
And I just think it's important to know that this lady has certainly been successful in her employment here in acquiring grants for Henry County in various capacities, and I think it needs to be recognized.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, you have before you a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the grant, and I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Madam.
Motion by Mr. Holder. Second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to social services, we have a resolution requesting authorization to purchase a 16-passenger ADA bus. Our presenter is David Williamson, Transit Director, Exhibit number 12.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do request permission to purchase one additional bus to meet the increased demand for our transportation resources. The reason we've selected this bus is that it's identical to the buses that we use each day, so we'll be familiar with the operations and maintenance of the buses. The bus is available on the State of Georgia contract through the purchases from National Bus Sales in Marietta. The total cost is $44,140, and there's a 20% match, and that cost for the county would be $8,828. We do request permission to purchase the bus, please.
And that $8,000 is in your budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions from board members? All right, if not, you have a resolution before you pertaining to the purchase of the bus, and I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Stamey. Second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to planning and zoning services, the first item is a resolution requesting award of a bid to install a concrete slab foundation required to complete the steel building for the police department. Our presenter is Mike Keeble, Facilities Maintenance Director, Exhibit number 13. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here to request the reward of a bid to install the concrete slab and foundation for a previously purchased pre-engineered steel building for the police department. We purchased this building for the storage and inspection of automobiles, and the project was bid through the purchasing department. Plans and specifications were issued to 17 local and area vendors, and the bid notice was posted on the county website. We received 15 bids from vendors, and the bid tab is attached for your price comparison. We're recommending the award be awarded to Anderson CCBI in the amount of $20,000. It was the lowest bid, and they had the most responsive bid.
And I believe, Mr. Bowman, you had a concern about the scope specifications?
Yes, ma'am. It's just on your scope, it's the vendor shall furnish and install all materials, labor, and equipment and services except as specified that are required to install a concrete foundation to the pre-engineered steel building. And when I come down to 33.2, the work shall include the following. I would like to clear that up just a little bit, that it's furnish and install, because basically when you break it out and they give you a list of things they're going to do as a contractor, it says install a 6-inch concrete slab on grade, includes footings, but it don't say anything about the material. Everything's installed, but I want to make sure that I know they are furnishing the concrete.
Yes, sir.
But I want to make sure that we don't have just a little area where we could get into a problem. So first install concrete and the materials, because here, when they put it, like A is just install it. Install in our language is place and finish.
Yes, sir.
No,
they are furnishing and installing all rebar, all plastic, all concrete. They are digging the footings. All I'm giving them is a pad on grade.
Right, I got you. The only thing I just want to make sure is that when we do the contract to them, that we put in there that they are furnishing the concrete, because it's ambiguous in the statement that it's doing. That's the only thing.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? All right, you have a resolution before you awarding the bid for the installation and the materials associated with the concrete slab and foundation, and I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Bowman, second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. The next item is a resolution requesting adoption of the short-term work program for 2010 through 2014 and the capital improvements element annual update. Our presenter is Sherry Hobson Matthews, Planning and Zoning Director, and that's exhibit number 14. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. As Chairman Mathis has indicated, this is our annual update, approval, and transmittal for our short-term work program and capital improvement element. The Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission has reviewed the report that was submitted back in August and has found that it does meet the minimum requirements. So this is just a resolution to transmit it so that we can maintain our qualified local government status.
I also noticed in looking through this that the items that we referenced at the meeting initially when we first reviewed this have been corrected in the stock. Was before it was submitted.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Any questions or comments? All right, if not, you have a resolution before you to adopt and submit the short-term work program and capital improvement elements, and I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Roark, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. The next item is a request to amend an ordinance regarding streetlight districts. Our presenter is Bert Foster, Building Department Director, exhibit number 15. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the Board. Back in September of 2009, the Board of Commissioners adopted the Unified Land Development Code, the ULDC, and effectively replaced Sections 3-6 through 3-11 of the Code of Henry County. The streetlight requirements are currently addressed in Section 8 of the ULDC. However, they still appear in Section 3-5 of the County Code. Today I'm before you to request the elimination of the streetlight ordinance located in Section 3-5, specifically Section 3-5-490 through Section 3-5-498.
Does any board member have a question or comment pertaining to this item? If not, you have before you a resolution. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I believe this is a public hearing.
All right.
This is my code, yes, ma'am.
Yes. All right, at this time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Let the record reflect that there's no one here to speak on this item. With that being said, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Bowman. Second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. The next item is a request to amend an ordinance regarding public right-of-way. That's going to be exhibit number 16.
Good morning again. This is a request to amend Section 103 of the ULDC. It's part of Appendix B that was adopted by the Board of Commissioners back in September of 2009. There's a section in this requirement in this ordinance that requires the Public Works Director to sign off on all building permits as they pertain to right-of-way widths. I'm requesting the Board to allow that to be deleted and allow the building official or his designee to have that responsibility in an effort to maintain efficiency in issuing these permits. I've already discussed it with the Public Works Director. He is fine with it, and obviously if we have any questions about the right-of-way, we'll immediately go to Henry County DOT to have them clarified.
Does any board member have a question or comment pertaining to this item? All right, if not, since this is an amendment to our ordinance, I would like to ask if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter. Seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Holder, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor. Motion carries 5-0. And the final item for Bert is a resolution requesting approval of an adjusted fee schedule for the Building Department, Exhibit Number 17.
Yes, ma'am. When move-in structures are brought into Henry County, the ULDC requires several unique things about it. For example, a pre-inspection before it leaves, a post-inspection once it arrives at its destination in Henry County, and a variety of bonds must be secured and verified. The ULDC does stipulate that these bonds need to be in place. However, it does not attach a monetary amount to it. What I'm asking today is to carry over the amounts from the previous code into the new Building Department fee schedule, just to clarify what the responsibility is for both the owner of the structure and the moving company who's responsible for moving the structure.
Does any board member have a question or comment pertaining to this item?
Question, and basically a comment too. These fees stay the same. There's no increase, decrease. It's just a matter of putting it into the language of the ULDC. Is that correct?
Yes, into the language of the Building Department fee schedule. It won't be a part of the ULDC per se. It is referenced as appearing in the Building Department fee schedule.
But the fees stay the same as they
yes, sir, as they were in 2009 before the ULDC was adopted.
Gotcha.
Mr. Bowman?
Just a couple of questions on it, Bert. These are bonds covering it. Now, on the move-in structure, we do require insurance also. These basically cover what the insurance policy wouldn't cover.
This is either or. If they have an insurance policy that matches these amounts, they're fine to go. If there's with the exception of what's required of the owner of the structure, he needs to bond out at least $10,000 to comply with county codes.
I was just curious about the, obviously, moving a structure is a pretty tedious operation, and moving a house, we're actually talking about moving a house in when we talk about a structure, not
That's correct, yes, sir.
I know we're talking about smaller things, but it could be a house like in the past when we moved the airport houses and things.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me that the some of the liability, the personal injury would be fine, but some of the liability coverages of $10,000, it seems like you can do a whole lot more damage than that in a hurry. I'm a little concerned about the amount, but I'm glad that we're putting something in there. So.
Yes, sir, and bear in mind, we're just carrying over what was originally in place. If it's time to revisit these amounts, we can certainly do that.
I understand, and I'm only bringing it up for the purpose of discussion with the board that, $10,000, 15 years ago or whenever was one thing. $10,000 today is not a lot. So just for the purpose of discussion only, Madam Chair, I was bringing that up. It just seemed like the personal injuries, that's where it should be, but property damage and liability, $10,000 and $25,000 is a pretty small amount. So.
Yeah, most people carry more than that on their automobile insurance. Have you looked at other surrounding counties to see what their fees are and if these are in line with what they would require?
Yes, ma'am. We're in the process of making those calls. We haven't gotten any response back yet. But like I said, this is the way things were back in 2009. I thought it best carrying forward as things stand now. If we need to revisit them, then absolutely we can sit down once we get that information back from the surrounding counties.
And I honestly think that's good. I think you've done a good job in that. But I would like to, I think I'd like to make a motion that we table this. You've done a good job, Bert, in bringing it, but I've just had an opportunity to look at the numbers, and I feel like that maybe we should just take another look at what the surrounding areas are doing, just on the liability coverages, and make sure that we've got enough in there to cover should something happen.
Yes, sir. And on a typical year, even our heaviest years, we probably have 4 move-in structures a year, so it's not a major operation at this point. In fact, we've had several years recently where we've had 0.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to table this item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Stamey. Any further discussion on this item? Mr. Holder?
I'd just like to ask a question. This is somewhat related, or could be. As far as move-in structures, is the county adhering to the same rules that we're requiring other people that move in structures? And the reason I'm questioning this is because many times each of us hear the fact that we don't comply with our own ordinances. And I know that we have move-in structures at various parks throughout the county. Are we held to the same standard that someone wanting to have a move-in house or a move-in building or whatever?
Going forward, we will be. I don't know exactly how things happened before I got in this position, but going forward, we will be held to at least the minimum standards, if not more restrictive.
That's my point exactly, and that's all I ask, because we've all heard that, and I think we need to comply with our own ordinances.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Agreed. All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so all in favor of tabling the request? Motion carries 5-0. And do you think 2 weeks would give you enough time to assess that and get back to us with some updated
Yes, ma'am. We'll make another round of
numbers?
phone calls and see if we can get a better response than we did the first time. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Moving on to Public Works, the first item is a resolution requesting, I'm sorry.
There's one question that Commissioner Holder had yesterday. I purposely addressed that.
Okay, go ahead,
Just
Bert.
to respond back from yesterday.
Thank you, Michael. You had asked about accessory structures needing a permit for accessory structures, whether they be stick-built or if they come from a home supply store. The ULDC is actually clear that any structure that exceeds 120 square feet in size requires a building permit. Whether it's moved to the property, whether it's moved from one point on the property to another point on the property, constructed from 2x4s, however it's made. Anything over 120 square feet requires a building permit.
Stick-built or move-in requires?
Yes, sir. Makes no distinction.
Okay. It has not been that way, though, is that not correct?
Going forward, it will be that way.
That's not my question. I said it has not been that way, has it?
I think that's safe to say, yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think we got the right man for the job, Mr. Holder, is what I keep hearing. Going forward, these things will be as they should be.
Some very safe answers, Bert.
Good job. All right, moving on to Public Works, the first item under that is a resolution requesting award of a bid for full-depth reclamation work on various county roads. Our presenter is Terry McMickle, Public Works Division Director, Exhibit Number 18. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board. This morning, we're bringing before you a contract for full-depth reclamation on various county roads. I think y'all are very familiar with this process now that we've done on, I think Mount Carmel was our first road, and we've done Hearn, Airline, and Thurman. So this is that same process where we actually go out and reclaim or grind up the existing roadbed, mix it with Portland cement, set it up, and then come back and pave over the top of it. In this particular case, we have found in some of our roads that it's actually more economical to do this process than to patch in some cases. If the road has extensive patching where we're patching 70-80% of the road, it's actually cheaper to go ahead and just reclaim. So that's what we're doing this time. Purchasing sent this out to 6 vendors. We had 4 respond. We would like to award to Atlanta Paving and Concrete in the base amount of $393,584. This is the same company that did Airline and Thurman and did an excellent job.
Are there any questions or comments pertaining to this item?
Madam Chair, I have
Mr. Holder.
a comment and a question. In the special provisions under 2B, page 1, there's a phrase that I have questions about, and it says, any excess or undesirable material will be loaded and hauled away by the contractor to a predetermined location at Mosley Park on Miller's Mill Road, or can be disposed of by the contractor. I think you're leaving something open there, because and I'm saying undesirable material, and that's what it's phrasing it as. Who determines the undesirable? And it could be some material that we need to grind and reclaim, or for whatever the reason, or he can dispose of it. And I think it's just a question of mine.
Probably, I'll try to be brief and go through that process to kind of explain any excess or undesirable material. When we do in these subdivisions, what we're actually doing, we're initially coming through and milling up 10 inches of the whole roadbed. They're going to mill it up, it back down, and of course, it'll come back flush to the top of curb. Once they pack it, then they come back in with with a reclaimer. Then they'll come back in and mill out 2 inches of the material and drop it down. So that's the material that's excess that needs to be hauled off.
Which is partial pavement.
It's
just a
the
mixture.
mixture, absolutely.
That's my point. Can it be used by us anywhere?
Well, what we thought we would do, we put a lot of thought into this. We went 2 ways. We thought, well, if the contractor has need of the dirt, then he can sell this excess material, maybe lower his bid. If that's not the case, we've established a place in the park there for this material to be taken to. We feel like give a contractor an option, he'll give us the best bid. If he doesn't have a need for that material, we said, here's a place you haul it to and designated where that material goes. If he has a use for that material, then he can sell it, use it on a project, haul it back to his shop, do whatever he wants to do with it. But either way, we need that material removed.
I understand that. I just didn't know how undesirable it was for him and how desirable it could be for us in another location somewhere, is my point.
Well, there's possibility, the reason that we named Miller's Mill, we have an upcoming project at 138 in Hemp Hill, possibly that will need some dirt. And if they do, then it's our intentions to let the bidders know on that project that we have dirt available for that project. That's why that particular site was chosen. So there is a means or a method to our setup there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, you have a resolution before you awarding this contract to Atlanta Paving and Concrete Construction, and I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Mr. Bowman. Second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is a resolution requesting award of a contract for concrete construction for drainage along White Castles Drive, and that's exhibit number 19.
We are currently doing some maintenance repair on White Castles Drive there in Stockbridge, which is some drainage. Presently, or before we started this work, there was a cross drain that had failed. In addition to that, this cross drain's in a sag of the road or a low point. There was not enough catch basins along that roadway, so when a hard rain came, the water filled up to the top of the curb and then overran the road. So we were building up, if we had a significant rainfall, we could get as much as 6 inches of water accumulating in that roadway. Then when it washed over the side of the road, it would erode the bank on each side of the cross drain. So we have replaced the pipe, the main pipe, and now we're coming back and adding these catch basins, and we're adding about 6, I believe, in that area to take care of that runoff. So this contract here is award for those drainage structures and curb and gutter. We did have 13 vendors. It was sent out to 13 vendors. 10 responded, and we recommend award to the lowest bidder in the amount of $15,000. We haven't done work with this particular vendor, but we have checked his references, and we feel like that his references were good enough where we're willing to recommend award to this vendor.
So you didn't want to take a chance at trying to pronounce the name of that vendor?
Yeah, you caught me on that, didn't you?
I did. I noticed you just kind of passed right over that.
I would pronounce it Zavary Enterprises.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments pertaining to this item? Reed, is this in your district or Johnny's?
I believe this is in there.
It's in yours? Okay, well, I will entertain a motion from you.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bowman and a second by Mr. Basler. You'll let him make the motion? Okay. Second.
My mom and dad live about 100 yards from there, so any of us could do it.
All right, we have a second by Mr. Basler. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
It is north of Mcdonough, I'm sure of that.
That wasn't a cheap shot, was it?
We're actually running these lines now, so as soon as this gets, I'd say probably in about a week, week and a half, we should have it completed. Yes,
Thank you, Terry.
thank you.
Moving on to SPLOST, the first item is a resolution requesting approval of a budget amendment for the South Bethany Road project. Our presenter is Rocky Romero, SPLOST Transportation Project Director, Exhibit Number 20. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. South Bethany Road from Cohen Drive to Philadelphia Drive is designated SPLOST 3 Transportation Project. A budget amendment in the amount of $405,800 is needed to cover the construction and related costs. Funding for this budget amendment is available in the SPLOST 3 South Bethany Road from Jackson Street to West Price Drive.
Does any board member have a question or comment pertaining to this item?
I'd like to make a comment, Madam Chair,
Mr. Holt.
and that is the reason for a budget amendment of this amount is due to wetlands in the crossing of Tussahaw Creek. And I know earlier in the meeting today, we talked about the watershed and the awards that have been given to our water authority, but this impacts Tussahaw Creek, which is one of our major reservoirs. And it took quite a bit to cross or to
mitigate.
Wetland. Is that not correct, Rocky?
That's correct. That and utilities, sir.
So I just want to let you know, because a $405,000 budget amendment, that's almost like you've missed a lot. But what happened, it was a wetland environmental issue that would have to be addressed.
Any other questions or comments? If not, Mr. Holder, this is in your district, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Mr. Holder, second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. The next item is a resolution requesting award of a bid for the construction of the widening and paving of South Bethany Road, and that's Exhibit Number 21.
Yes, sealed bids were solicited for the construction and widening of the South Bethany Road project. 12 bids were received and reviewed. Staff recommends the low bidder, Southeastern Side Development, in the amount of $1,569,977.25, and funding now is available in the project.
Are there any questions or comments pertaining to this item?
Just want the record to show that this is the actual award of the bid for the amendment that we've just approved, and that section of that road is going to be about a $2 million road. Is that not correct?
What's that question again, sir? The $2 million what?
When you figure the budget amendment
Right.
plus the bid amount, that ends up being
Oh, the total construction, total cost.
Total project cost is going to be close to $2 million.
It's going to be a little bit over two. I can give you the figure. It's actually going to be 2.7.
$2.7 million.
The original budget was 2.3,
And that's why the amendment had to come
and
in.
then we added
Exactly.
405, so
So
2.7.
it's 2.7 million. Just want to check.
Any other questions or comments? If not, Mr. Holder, this lies in your district, and I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. I think they were going to mess with you on that one. They were all grinning down here.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
I heard somebody say it was south of Mcdonough.
Yeah, I just want the record to show that since they drew first blood, so all of these resurfacings that took place in the major reclamation, Mr. McMickle, I don't believe any of those lay in District 1, did they not? No, I'm saying that the ones that we've just approved, not one, and I never opened my mouth at all, most of those were north of Mcdonough. However, some were east of Mcdonough, some were a little bit west of Mcdonough, but I don't believe any of them were to the south of Mcdonough. I did not make issue of that, and until
You were brutally attacked.
I was brutally attacked.
The next item on the agenda is a resolution requesting approval of a supplemental agreement for professional services for the Oakland Road Improvement Project, and that's going to be exhibit number 22.
Oakland Road is also a designated Plus 3 transportation project. Supplemental agreement for professional service in the amount of $21,000 is needed to provide additional service pertaining to right-of-way negotiations, including but not limited to meetings with property owners, preparing plat revisions, additional survey and staking, and plan revisions. Funding is available within the project budget.
Have all the right-of-ways been acquired?
We're down to 3 parcels out of 48, so we're very close. The 3 parcels that in questions have some septic line issues. We're working on those, so hopefully be able to resolve those this month and hopefully put it out for bid in November.
Any questions or comments pertaining to this item? If not, Mr. Roark, this lies in your district, and I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Basler. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. And the final item under SPLOST is a resolution requesting approval of a budget amendment for the Mcdonough Parkway project, and that's exhibit number 23.
Mcdonough Parkway from Jonesboro Road to State Route 42 is a designated SPLOST 3 major transportation project. Budget amendment in the amount of $175,000 is needed to cover overruns in construction, including errors and omissions from design engineer. Funding for this budget amendment is available in the SPLOST 3 Airline Road as State Route 20 account.
I noticed on here this amount's $175,000, and the E&O is $146,000. Why are you not requesting all of that amount?
Because 146 is for design engineer errors that we feel like we should get those back, and we actually, county attorney sent a letter to them about that. And the rest are overruns on erosion control quantities and other things that happened during the construction of the project. So the difference is in other items due to construction.
Okay. And I know we've had some calls as late as early this morning wanting to know when that was going to open.
Yes, ma'am. We actually, the signal is all installed. GDOT came yesterday and did the inspection. They'll be coming back. They had a list for us to correct. They'll be back tomorrow to flash it. And if everything is completed, they'll be here tomorrow to flash it. And 7 days later, which will be the next following Wednesday, it'll be turned on. And at that point, we'll open the road for traffic.
Thank you. Any questions or comments pertaining to this item?
I would just like to make one comment, and that's at the $175,000 and that we would pursue to the max to get that money back from the design engineer, and it says here due to errors and omissions.
Including errors.
I'm sorry?
Including errors. So that we're going to go after 146,887.
That's fine. I'm just saying, anything that was due to the errors and omissions of the design engineer, we should not have to pay.
That's correct.
And I'm sure the attorney will actively pursue that.
Any other questions or comments? Not, Mr. Stamey, this lies in your district, and I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Basler. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of the July 20th and July 29th called meetings. And I want to make sure, we're going to take those separately because Mr. Bowman was absent for one of those. On both of those, I have some grammatical corrections that I will be giving to the county clerk. And with that, are there any other corrections or additions to the minutes? The first one we'll take will be July the 20th, 2010, and all commissioners were present for that. And if there are no corrections or additions other than the ones that I just referenced, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Stamey, second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. July 29th, 2010, Mr. Bowman was absent, and other than the corrections to the grammatical corrections, if there's nothing further on that, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Stamey, second by Mr. Roark. All in favor? Motion carries 4-0. At this time, we're moving into our public comment section of the meeting where citizens are allowed to voice county-related concerns, opinions, etc. that are not listed on the agenda during this portion of the meeting. We did have one individual that signed up with the county clerk to speak this morning, and that is Miss Melissa Jones of 729 Grove Point Circle in Locust Grove, and she's here to speak about some information that she would like to share on the ULDC. And we certainly appreciate her being with us again this morning and bringing some information to our attention.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chairwoman and respected commissioners. I appreciate your time yesterday and wanted to address an issue that I discovered yesterday. Well, upon reading the proposed amendment to this particular code, there is some language that could possibly be ambiguous. I went home yesterday and a code enforcement gentleman was in my subdivision. I questioned him about this amendment, and he was interpreting the language quite differently than I thought it might be interpreted. So this morning, I have some additional language to that amendment that I have asked Mr. Harris to take a look at and possibly propose to you for that amendment. In that amendment, we would ask that request to extend the period of time for construction trailers and things of the like would be requested prior to the expiration of the time limit that is already given. Also, we feel that that would be the case because we don't want to go ahead and reward those who have already violated this code for a number of years by having trailers sitting on land in subdivisions. So we feel that that should be very clear, that this time frame should go from the expiration of the time that is already given, not years and years later. If applications are to be granted or approved at this time, they shouldn't be for approval beyond the 4 years and then years and years after that. Because of the economy, I understand the board would like to accommodate developers, and I agree with that. Maybe, possibly, if Mr. Harris could look at a grandfather clause for people that have had trailers there above and beyond the 4 years, maybe of 2 years, but above and beyond that, I think we would be rewarding people that have already violated the code, and I feel that that would be unacceptable and hope you would agree. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Madam Chair, I want to comment that
The lady made a comment yesterday, Michael. Were we able to verify that that trailer actually has been parked there for 14 years?
it was issued, I think we did, because there was a permit that was actually issued when it was initially set on the site. So I believe, to the best of our knowledge, it was about 14 years. Yeah. I don't think we have the exact date, but that's about when the subdivision began to be developed.
And that subdivision is approximately 95% built out, correct? Yes, sir.
I've been here 14 years. She's right. The trailer, the office trailer has been there that long. There's no doubt.
And there was a subsequent portion of land adjacent to the subdivision that they proposed to be developed at some time, but that hasn't moved. That never did move forward, not as of yet. So I know there is some additional land to be developed, kind of as another portion, another phase of that existing subdivision. That has not yet been developed.
That's not a phase of that subdivision. It's platted as completely different.
Okay, all right, different subdivision at this point. But I know there was plans to develop it adjacent to the subdivision.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you.
All right, we had one other citizen sign up for public comment, And this is Ms. Stacy Richardson of 207 Wind Drive in Hampton, and she has a request to bring before the board. Good morning.
Good morning. I would just like to make a formal request to be added to the next scheduled meeting on 10/18 for two items, 130 Bellamy Place and County Record Service Agreement.
Ms. Richardson, I know you had asked to be placed on the agenda, and typically when we place someone on the agenda and allocate a 15-minute time slot, that is for issues that have implications beyond an individual's personal issues. And that's typically reserved for presentations that affect more than just one or two citizens. It's generally something that has implications countywide. The public comment portion of the meeting, which is where we're at today, is the area that we encourage citizens, if they have personal issues or things related to their property or issues with the police department or things like that this would be the format in which those things would be shared. And so if you would like to take 5 minutes this morning and discuss those issues with the board, we certainly welcome you to do that.
Well, one of the issues I would discuss right now would be I have property at 130 Bellamy Place, and the property at Bellamy Place has had several citations and stuff with stuff being on the property. I want to make it noted that all that stuff has been removed. And I would also like to add that the rest of the property there in Bellamy Place needs to be looked at as heavily as mine's been looked at.
Okay.
And that would be all.
All right. Well, we'll certainly get someone to take a look at all of Bellamy Place to make sure that it's all in compliance. And
Thank you.
Appreciate you sharing that. And like I said, anytime that you have something that you wish to bring before this board, we have the public comments section of the meeting set aside for that, and we welcome that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you that I'm meeting at 11 o'clock this morning with Mr. Weems, and we're going over a list of areas that he's going to look at, and that will be one of them.
Do you have any comments, further comments for public session?
No, ma'am.
Ms. County Attorney?
No, ma'am.
The upcoming meetings and events, Monday, October 18th at 9 a.m., we have a regular meeting. Tuesday, October 19th at 6:30 p.m., we have a regular meeting. Monday, November the 1st at 9 a.m., we have a workshop meeting. And Tuesday, November 2nd, a regular board meeting. If there's no further business to come before this board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Roark, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. We stand adjourned.